Sorry about that. Now the microphone is on and you can hear me. Tim Buckley, 10 o'clock, tracking snow. Looking ahead into the weekend. We are starting to see some of it in parts of our Piedmont area. This video coming to us from Kristen. She's up in Caswell County. You can take a look at it here a little bit closer. Look how fine this snow is. Very cold air, very, very fine snowfall happening, and fluffy flakes too. So this is just kind of the beginning. I wouldn't expect this to be, the main event or anything, but just look at how not tiny, but how big those flakes are. And very, very cold air can do that when it comes to snowfall. We are starting to see a good amount of snow fill in the gaps around the Piedmont Triad area. This is one video, like I said. Here's another one from Caswell County. Kind of seems to be the hot spot tonight for snowfall. Starting to get some decent accumulation coming down from the sky. So this is from James. He's up in that same area as Kristen was. And just a couple of hours ago, we saw the same idea here. This is from Martinsville, just across the border. Chris Burleson sending us that video. So we're at the point in time where we're starting to get the first reports. It's very early, obviously. We have a long way to go. But going into tonight and into tomorrow, I do think it'll be interesting to watch. It'll get a little stressful to kind of watch the radar because we're finding a couple of features in the precipitation map that we see heavier amounts possible for some and lighter amounts possible for others. And it's going to be very difficult to kind of pinpoint those ahead of time, and a lot of it will be in the real-time radar tracking. The whole state, though, the entire state, has a winter storm warning, and that's very rare to say for North Carolina. So let's kind of take you through this here. If you look closer, this is our live radar picture right now, and there are some snow bands that have already set up in parts of the region. So we have a lot of this from Surrey County and Stokes County, over in Rockingham as well. A little bit more of this over here from Burlington, Orange County, Caswell County as well. We're seeing some of those videos coming in. And this is the point in time where you just kind of watch and wait to see what the radar is going to produce for you. Down in the Charlotte area, a couple of little blips here every now and again, but not all that much, at least at the moment. But what we're really going to be tracking is the potential for some snowfall. And the more that you can get that snow to come down early throughout the day, the better off you're going to be. Not everyone is going to be served in the same way. Significant snowfall for the day on Saturday. Several inches are likely for many, but not for everybody. There will be lower amounts in the northern and eastern parts of our area and a little bit more to the southwest. I do think snowy roads and travel will be a problem. Obviously, when you get snowfall, it becomes a hazard around here especially. It will be bitter cold, though, with wind gusts feeling like 20 to 30 miles per hour, and that could make a wind chill below zero even. So a bit of a problem, to say the least. Here's a look at our Futurecast, which honestly, every new time that we get this updated, it kind of changes by a bit. This time, it looks to be favorable for snow for pretty much the whole state. Sometimes it comes in looking a little dry for areas to our east and to our north. So those are all things to consider. Take a look here. This is a closer view of the same model that I was just showing you. It does have snow filling in the gaps a little bit through the late night hours and then into early tomorrow morning. We're starting to see that, there we go. We're starting to see that kind of push a little bit to the west. That could be a bit of a concern. That could be a little bit of a concern for you in the eastern parts of our area. But it fills in the gaps again on radar closer to 9. And then as we get closer to lunchtime, it does fill it in once more. So kind of what I'm saying here is if it's not snowing where you are in the morning when you're waking up, I wouldn't panic about that. That's probably going to be the case for a lot of us. If it's not snowing by lunchtime, you should probably get a little concerned if you're hoping for snow. And if it's not snowing by dinner time, you're in trouble. And that could be the case for a lot of our area. We are seeing computer models that are showing a big dry pocket of air, mostly in this part of North Carolina. So they're showing a lot lower amounts of snow in these areas compared to the west. So if you're in the west, I think you're in pretty good shape. But I have updated my map a little bit to reflect some of these numbers. I have most of the Triad in the 3 to 6 inch range, as we have been throughout the whole week. And in fact, I bumped you back up here in Rockingham and Stokes County. I think you're going to be all right to get some decent snowfall. Now, farther in the Charlotte area, they could actually get some really good snowfall. Over here, though, this is my concern, that I do think that lower amounts are favored, especially from Burlington to Raleigh and these areas. I'm a little concerned about those areas. So just kind of put that out there. There is that dry slot potential, as we have called it a couple of times here. But basically what that means is that drier air can kind of get funneled into the storm. The reason we're not really seeing that be a problem right now is that the coastal low hasn't really developed yet. But once that low pressure system does develop, you're going to get this northeast flow of dry air that's kind of coming at you. And that's going to be a little bit of a problem once it sets up. So I am a little bit worried for those areas. Farther toward the coast, I think they'll actually get some better snow than we do, courtesy of that coastal low pressure system. So bottom line, most of us should be expecting about 3, maybe 4 and 5, 6 inches around the area. As far as boom potential, who could maybe see some higher amounts? I would say places like, Asheboro, Mocksville, Lexington, maybe Yadkinville, Wilkesboro, maybe you could get on that higher end. On the bus side of things, that would be maybe your Burlingtons, your Grahams, your Mebbins, your even Whitsett, or places in eastern Guilford have some risk of a bust out of this thing. So watching north, watching east as kind of my concern zone. Enough about the snow totals. Winter weather impacts looking something like this. I do think that as far as those go, you're looking at high amounts of snow impact, of course, which means high amounts of travel impact too. And otherwise, we're not really looking at anything all that bad. Power outages shouldn't really be all that big of a problem. Ice is not happening with this storm system. One of the things to mention are gusty winds. We will have those with the system. We'll see some winds gusting around 20 to 30 miles per hour throughout the daytime. And they'll linger even more through the afternoon. So plan on that. That's going to be something that happens for us. As far as wind chills go, not looking good. It's going to feel really cold outside. Wind chills will be in the single digits going into tomorrow morning, or tomorrow afternoon, and even below 0 as we go into Sunday morning. So it's bitter cold on the way, some snow on the way, messy roads on the way. We're kind of doing this all again. So let's take a look here. Your storm timeline appears to be like this as far as I can tell. Snow impacts mostly from the late morning through the evening. That's kind of your main impact for snow. Anything right now happening is a little bit of a bonus, but I don't think it's going to be a big problem. Once we go into tomorrow, though, wind gusts will be a bit of a factor toward tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. There will be some slippery travel, of course, with that snowfall, and power outages just really shouldn't be all that big of a deal. I can show you this just behind the scenes action. That's not the right one. Hold on. I'll find the other one. In any case, that's kind of the overview here. In case you missed it off the top, it is already snowing in parts of the area. So this is some snow from Caswell County, a little bit of an early bonus, you could say. Kristen saw that one. This is for James, also in Caswell County. If it's not snowing where you are, you're not missing out on the storm. That doesn't mean that things are going to go badly for you tomorrow. This is just kind of a bonus. We have a little bit of a bonus action going on right now. And we have a little bit of a snow band over on this side of things as well. So we're tracking things. We're going to be watching things tomorrow very carefully, kind of turning into what we call basically a nowcast. So when you're just kind of watching the radar and tracking the storm in the moment, that's what we'll be doing tomorrow. But snow is likely. I do think it'll be uneven snowfall. Not everybody getting the same. Not everybody treated fairly. There will be some winners and some losers, some hits and some misses. That's just kind of the way that it is. But here you go. I still think about 3 to 6 is a good bet for most of us in the triad, but I'd be a little worried if I'm off to the east, especially closer to Burlington, the Raleigh area. You're trying to get some snow. Might be a little harder. There's a risk. There's always a risk when it comes to snowstorms, and it's not fun. It doesn't make you comfortable, but it's just the way it is. We are predicting the future here. So I'll leave it with you with that. One more look at the Burlington camera before I let you go. I just saw a couple snowflakes. Did you? Just a couple. Not too many, but there are a few out there. Anyway, leave you with the radar so you can watch that here as we let you go, and we'll see you on the news coming up at 11 o'clock. much.